There is a pattern written in the ashes of history, a pattern that has destroyed 3 superpowers in the last 500 years. And in 2025, the United States is walking that same road, step by step, decision by decision. The same pattern that dragged every great empire into the dust. The same illusion of power that blinded them all. According to historian Paul Kennedy, in The Rise and Fall of the Great Powers, no empire collapses from a single blow. It falls from within, through arrogance, overreach, and decay disguised as strength. In 1590, Spain was the richest empire on earth. It ruled half the world's gold and silver. Its military dominated Europe. Its currency was accepted everywhere. But within 80 years, that empire was broken. Its wealth vanished. Its glory turned to dust. Spain became a warning, not a legend. After Columbus opened the New World, Spain believed it had conquered destiny itself. The empire seized the mines of the Americas, hauling hundreds of tons of silver home every year. The Spanish real became the global reserve currency, trusted by kings and merchants alike. And that was the beginning of the pattern. Power built on wealth that came too easily. King Philip II ruled over the world's first global superpower. And like every ruler who believes his empire cannot fall, he overextended. Wars against the Ottomans, wars in Italy and France, wars in the Netherlands and across the seas. By 1580, Spain was fighting on 4 continents. Half its income fed the war machine. The rest was swallowed by corruption and pride. This was the first stage, military overreach. When the treasury ran dry, Spain turned to deception. They debased the currency, mixing copper into silver until merchants refused to trade it. According to the Journal of Economic History, Spanish silver coins lost nearly all real value by 1600. Inflation tore through the economy. The empire's wealth was fake, its power hollow. This was the second stage. Currency decay. Desperate, the crown borrowed from bankers across Europe. Italian, German, Flemish. Each loan bought more time but buried the empire deeper in debt. 4 times in 40 years, Spain declared bankruptcy, each time promising reform, each time repeating the same mistake. The pattern advanced. Then came the silent collapse. With endless silver to spend, Spain stopped producing. The nobility mocked work. The fields withered. Industry died. Everything they consumed was imported. Gold and silver flowed in from the New World and flowed right back out. Spain became a hollow vessel, rich in appearance, empty in reality. By 1640, revolts tore through the empire. Portugal gone, the Netherlands gone. By 1700, Spain was finished. A superpower reduced to memory. According to Cambridge Economic History of Europe, Spain's fall was not sudden. It was mathematical. When a nation spends more than it creates, when pride blinds it to decline, collapse is not an event. It is a process. That was the first empire to fall to the pattern. But it would not be the last. 2 centuries after Spain fell, another empire rose from the ashes. Britain, the island that ruled the seas. The empire where the sun never set. It began with discipline, trade, and invention, but ended with debt, arrogance, and exhaustion. The same pattern, the same blindness. According to historian Niall Ferguson in Empire, How Britain Made the Modern World, British dominance was not built on gold or silver, but on efficiency and industry. They conquered through commerce. They mastered the oceans. London became the center of global finance. But like Spain, the illusion of endless power led to the same disease. By the late 19th century, the British elite believed their empire was eternal. They expanded into Africa, India, and the Pacific, draining resources and defending borders that stretched across half the planet. The empire had grown too large for its own heart to pump blood through. Every new territory demanded soldiers, ships, and gold. And when the wars began, the heart stopped. World War I shattered Britain's confidence. The empire survived, but only in appearance. The cost of victory was death by debt. By the time the Second War began, the British pound had already lost its crown. The United States had replaced it as the world's economic core. And yet Britain refused to see the truth. They believed prestige could survive mathematics. According to the Economic History Review, Britain's national debt tripled during the two world wars, and the empire's global trade fell by more than half. Factories slowed, colonies rebelled, India broke free. The illusion of control faded into dust. By 1956, during the Suez Crisis, when British forces tried to reclaim a canal from Egypt, the United States told them to stand down, and they did. That was the moment the empire ended, not with a war, but with a phone call. The Second Empire had fallen to the same pattern: overreach, currency decay, debt dependence, loss of production, collapse masked by pride. Then came the Soviet Union, the third empire to walk the path, built not on gold or commerce, but ideology and control. For 70 years, the USSR ruled a sixth of the planet. It produced fear, loyalty, and power unmatched since Rome. But even the strongest iron rusts from within. According to CIA archives and studies from the Brookings Institution, the Soviet economy began stagnating by the 1970s. Central planning smothered innovation. Military spending consumed up to 40% of GDP. The empire poured its wealth into weapons while its people queued for bread. The world saw might. The inside saw rot. When oil prices crashed in the 1980s, the Soviet mask cracked. No empire, no matter how armed, can fight economics. The ruble collapsed. Shortages became starvation. And like Spain and Britain before them, the USSR turned to illusion. Statistics were falsified. Production numbers faked. Reports rewritten to keep the myth alive. But you cannot command reality to obey. In 1991, the red flag fell. The superpower disintegrated overnight. 15 new nations rose from its corpse. According to Foreign Affairs, the Soviet Union did not collapse because of America. It collapsed because of arithmetic. The numbers stopped adding up. 3 empires, 3 centuries, 1 pattern. Each believed it was too powerful to fall. Each ignored the warnings written in their own ledgers. Each mistook momentum for immortality. And now, another nation walks the same path. Every empire that has ever risen believed the same lie, that it was different, that its brilliance, its technology, and its wealth had made it immune to the laws of decline. Rome believed it while the barbarians gathered at its gates. Spain believed it while its silver turned worthless in its hands. Britain believed it while its colonies slipped away. The Soviet Union believed it as its own republics fractured in silence. And today, America believes it too. The historian Arnold Toynbee wrote that civilizations do not die by murder, they die by suicide. The United States, like every empire before it, carries the seeds of its own destruction, not in its enemies, but in its habits. Habits of overreach, consumption, distraction, and pride. When the nation was born, it was a miracle of vision. A country built on courage and imagination, not inheritance. Its founders feared empire as much as tyranny. They believed freedom and discipline must walk side by side. That belief made America unstoppable. It turned 13 struggling colonies into an industrial giant. It created inventions that reshaped human life. It defeated fascism, defied communism, and became the symbol of progress itself. But as power grew, so did forgetfulness. In the 20th century, the United States reached a height unmatched in history. Its currency ruled the world. Its industries dominated trade. Its culture shaped minds across continents. But the greater the height, the more invisible the edge becomes. The nation began consuming more than it created, borrowing more than it saved, promising more than it could fulfill. According to the U.S. Treasury, national debt now exceeds $34 trillion. That number grows by the minute. Economists at Harvard call it a debt trap of confidence, a cycle where prosperity is borrowed rather than earned. And like every empire before, America learned to mask decline with motion, to measure health not in balance, but in speed. Factories once filled with iron and flame now stand silent. Towns that built ships, cars, and steel now import the very things they once invented. According to the Peterson Institute for International Economics, America imports more manufactured goods than it produces at home for the first time since World War II. The empire of industry has become an empire of consumption. Yet its pride remains. Over 700 military bases across the world. More aircraft carriers than the next 10 nations combined. The image of strength is still sharp, but the cost of maintaining it drains the very core of the nation. The Congressional Budget Office warns that within decades, interest on debt and defense alone will consume nearly all federal revenue. The same warning Spain ignored. The same truth Britain dismissed. Inside, the unity that once made the country powerful now fractures into hostility. Politics turns from disagreement into open warfare. Citizens treat one another as enemies. According to Pew Research, trust in government and media is at the lowest point in recorded history. A nation divided cannot stand, not because its enemies are strong, but because its will is weak. The Roman historian Sallust once wrote, "In peace, luxury grows, and with luxury, decay." Today, comfort has replaced discipline. Convenience has replaced purpose. The empire that once raced to the moon now races for influence on screens. Attention has become the new battlefield. The people no longer fight for ideals. They fight for validation. And every second of distraction widens the cracks in the walls. Meanwhile, beyond its borders, the world shifts. China builds cities faster than America repairs its bridges. India trains engineers, while America debates identity. Nations once dependent on the U.S. now trade in their own currencies. According to the IMF's Global Reserve Report, the dollar share of global reserves has fallen below 58%, its lowest in decades. The world is quietly preparing for a post-American order. History shows this moment with cruel clarity. Spain ignored it. Britain denied it. The Soviet Union feared it. But all reached the same end, a point where power demanded more than the nation could sustain. America now stands at that same edge, still mighty, still feared, but bleeding slowly from within. Yet decline is not destiny. Collapse is not guaranteed. The same hands that built the empire can rebuild it if they find humility before arrogance and creation before consumption. According to historian Victor Davis Hanson, great powers survive only when they rediscover the virtues that created them: work, sacrifice, and unity. If they fail, the collapse becomes inevitable, not because of enemies abroad, but because of rot within. The warning signs are not hidden. Inflation that erodes savings, debt that crushes the young, a culture that praises fame over wisdom, a nation that once inspired the world now entertains it. None of this happens overnight. Empires rarely fall in a single generation. They fade quietly, day by day, until one morning their citizens wake up and realize the world no longer revolves around them. But there is still time. The pattern can be broken. Every empire that fell believed it could not. That is why they fell. The United States still holds the tools of renewal, innovation, freedom, and courage, but those tools grow dull when forgotten. If they are not used soon, history will carve the same verdict once more. The lesson of the past is not despair, it is clarity. Power is not about dominance, it is about balance. Freedom is not noise, it is responsibility. And greatness is not inherited. It is maintained every day by the will to remain worthy of it. The rise of America was the story of humanity's potential. Its fall would be the story of our failure to learn. The pattern has spoken through centuries. From the silver of Spain to the steam of Britain to the iron of the Soviet Union, each fell believing tomorrow would always look like today. History does not repeat by mistake. It repeats by decision. And right now, the world's last superpower stands before that decision again. The question is not whether the United States will fall. The question is whether it will remember who it was before it forgets what it became.